Hmm? Okay, we're rolling.
Yep.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing our work across canvas. Wanted to be in here early this morning. Didn't happen. So when you have kids, life, well, when you have kids and you work from home, life is it's kind of a toss-up. So I got to watch the kids this morning. And my son is sick, so there you go. I'm going to get a little bit of time in this afternoon. Should wrap everything up, and I can kind of consider just how much time I'll have in the afternoon to where, what part do I want to work on next? What do I want to flesh out? That's always a little bit of a what time do I have? What do I feel like dressing? Because some days it's just not a head or a face or a hand sort of a day. But doing something a little easier, simpler, less at stake. Just depends. So welcome, good to have you. And we're going to get some painting done today. Locking in this tabletop. Tabletop itself is pretty dark. Not as dark as the background, but still pretty good. So I'm just going to work to fill that in. Oh yeah, kind of forgot I wanted to make this the edge of the table. Get the cat hair out of there. It's a hazard. Cat ownership. Cat hair in the oil painting. Love my cat though, he's a great cat.
Such a great cat.
Definitely settling into the space where I dislike the painting and probably hang out there for quite a few days. It's just the natural rhythm of it. So if you dislike your painting often, don't worry. It's one of those things you have to go through with each piece. Be that space that you don't really like. side of that is the finished work. Mix up some more of this value. Probably have to do it again. I'm not going to make it across here. Using a little more thinner than I had been. Again, when some of these bigger areas, you know, I'm just trying to get coverage. And smells a lot like lavender right now.
It's my favorite smell. Depends on adult. Because it takes away stress. That's what it says. Never realized how much I like lavender until I was introduced to it. Now I want everything to be lavender.
Your hair smells like lavender sometimes.
Mine does?
Not weird, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have like dry shampoo. It's like lavender scented.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, so since I don't wash my hair for a week or two at a time, put the dry shampoo in, makes it smell kind of lavendery.
Nice.
You ever use dry shampoo?
Nope.
Pretty cool. You don't have to.
Who goes there?
Amazon.
All right. Bezos, fresh back from space, dropping something off for us. Thanks, my man. Stepping back on the whole composition after the end of yesterday's live stream, I did get a feeling of satisfaction because I was like, okay, yeah, everything is nearing an even level of rendering. So it's good to not get too carried away in one spot, or too detailed without the rest following. And some artists work that way. They kind of work piecemeal at a time. And I wouldn't recommend it if you're a hobbyist or if you're just getting started learning. But to try to keep your surface, the painting surface, about the same level of detail across the board. So if you're deciding to do, if you know you're going to take it and get very realistic with it, then do so at a rate kind of evenly across the image. A bigger piece like this, of course, that takes days. We've been at this for several days already. And we haven't really gotten the whole painting to a point of kind of even render. Getting close though. And that is then a really good point to then reassess, see what's going on, see if there's any problems, and to address those if needed.
I guess when you sign up for a registry on Amazon and people buy you stuff, it just gets sent to your house.
Starts coming.
So, surprise! We're about to get some stuff.
All right. Every day is like Christmas.
My mom sent us a toaster.
Wow, already?
Yeah, she's proactive.
Wait, I didn't get an invite yet.
We haven't sent out the invite yet.
How does she know?
I don't know. Because Sierra probably tells her.
What's it say?
Now we basically have to get married because we got a toaster.
It's coming.
I feel like a toaster is like the epitome of a wedding gift present. Every sitcom I've ever watched. When somebody gets like tube of a gift or something, it's always a toaster.
I don't know if it's a toaster. It's usually like I'll give you this one. I'm sorry, it is a toaster. You got it. But also another thing that could be given that isn't given a lot is a crock pot.
Yeah. But the nice thing about Amazon is you know the stuff that you want, and then once it gets bought, I think it's taken off.
Yeah. It does. If they buy it from Amazon and they remember to do it, but if they buy it from somewhere else and they don't remember to take it off of Amazon, then.
Mm-hmm. Then you get two of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we only signed up for Amazon.
Well, it's like if somebody sees that and they're like, no, it's cheaper at Target. I'll just go to Target and get it for them.
My grandma also sent us something. So that'll probably be here tomorrow.
Everyone's on it.
It's like Christmas.
Can I open it now or should I wait? What's the thing?
I would say since you are here in the house that you're gonna live, you can open it. Usually, you would like leave it in the house that you're gonna be at. You just kind of like put all of the presents in there. But since you're already living here, it's not like you.
Remember, you're being recorded right now, so if I do that and somebody has a problem with it, then I'm just gonna take this sound
Your
bite,
mom. You can ask your mom.
put it in there. Nope, too late.
Your mom, is it okay if I open your toaster?
I'd be like, Mom, watch the live stream at 13 minutes and 30 seconds and see if you agree with the statement that's being made.
Okay, if you are assuming that you're gonna get married at the end, it's okay. If you are not gonna get married at the end, do not open the toaster.
Well, yeah, obviously. But I don't think a lot of people go into like, that'd be tricky. Where you're like, yeah, we're gonna get married, and then you get all gifts and be like, just kidding. We just wanted the gifts.
You return them and
Take all the money.
what should return the money to?
Should.
We did, we got so many gift cards.
Yeah, Anna was telling me that you guys had like food for like 6 months.
We did.
Yeah, groceries.
Gift cards and then just for other returns, just duplicate items that people purchased, even though we were on a registry.
Yeah.
Somehow we still got a lot of duplicate items. We didn't buy a single grocery with our own money, I think, for the first 6 to 8 months of our marriage.
That's pretty awesome.
Pretty amazing.
That's pretty good.
All my registry stuff went up in flames. So.
That is true.
Yeah.
Except
I'm sorry for that.
Your fault. That was your neighbor's fault.
Not even really her
not
fault.
even her fault.
No. That was the oven's fault.
There you go.
Okay.
Yep. Here's a bit of extra information, just life information. Is it now 2 months ago, David?
Yeah, me.
There was a fire. David can still tell the story better. It was his story.
Once upon a time, the
Are you trying to do like Liam Neeson right now?
No. Decent.
Hey, somebody liked our pun on Instagram.
Nice. That was
Right.
that was a co effort pun.
Cool pun.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
Did you tell Vince the pun?
No.
I read it. I was concerned about another thing, that the person who bought that painting asked it to not be reproduced. So I was trying to decide if this amounted to a reproduction or not. So that's what I was trying to decide.
I would say no. Do you put it on? Is it on your website at all?
No, it's in the. If you are a patron, you have access to my entire portfolio of works historically. But that's would be the only place that it was posted. Reproduction to me.
Different, yeah. Printing.
Yeah, I'm just kind of printing it out and selling copies of it.
Which I can understand not wanting somebody else to have that in their house.
Sure.
In a way.
So anyway, I was like, what do I?
That's what I get for trying to be proactive.
It's a good pun though.
Well, there's always going to be this level of like, I don't know. I have all that history in my brain, and
I have none of that history.
yeah. So that's what I mean. So I'm not upset about it. I was just thinking,
Is this the right thing to do?
I just didn't know. So we'll see. I think she still follows me on Instagram. So if she does, then she'll let me know.
Yeah.
And if she does, it was my fault. Vincent had everything to do with it.
Could be seen as, hey, at least other people get to see this work of art now that you enjoy.
But also, I think some people who buy art don't want that. That's why they have it in their houses. Instead of like museums or galleries. But then again, it's like maybe they only want their loved ones to be able to see it. I don't know how.
I can understand like
Art connoisseurs
if
work.
you had a commission that was of you or your family or something that, yeah, I would be like,
personal.
first off, you probably aren't going to reproduce it. Second off, it does feel odd to post on like Instagram or something with somebody else's without their permission. Especially if it's not like a famous person. It's just a person.
Yeah.
Anyways, fire. Yeah, I was here in the studio and my wife texted and she was like, our house could be on fire. And she was like, could be a little fire.
Could be a big fire.
Could be a big fire. Everything's gone or nothing's gone. And I was like, cool. It was like 3:30, so I was like, nah, I can leave right now. And I wanted to go to the gym. So I was like, I'll just go to the gym first instead of going home. But I had the sinking feeling like I should probably go home. So I went home, and yeah, the whole house was on fire.
It was still on fire?
Yep, there was a duplex though, so the other side caught fire because of faulty wiring, we believe. And it blew up their oven, and that blew up our kitchen, and things were all melty, including the fridge. So the kitchen didn't last. Her whole place, the other duplex, was burnt. Oh, totally. Nothing survived. It went out, the fire went out the window, broke the window, went out the window, went up into the attic, and then that's what got all of ours. Smoke damage and wall damage and water damage. So we came back to our whole place up in flames with nothing left. We had to go in there, try to save things, but there wasn't a lot to save. But we had a great community that came along and helped us. And there's funny stories that came out of that, and good times. And then we lived with my twin brother for 2 months before finding another place. And using all of the insurance money, which, this is great, have renter's insurance for sure. Because your house could catch on fire.
Not even your fault. Not even your fault.
Yeah.
No.
And now everything in our house is new. Except for some clothes. And jewelry. That's pretty much all that survived. It was great throwing things away though. We downsized to an upsized new duplex.
Well, minimalism is good. It's a good thing.
we did move into a new duplex because we have not learned our lesson, and we like the place we're at, and so I guess any place could go up in flames.
Yep.
Moral of the story. We also had a homeless person living in our backyard-ish behind our fence, and so we made sure that he was taken care of.
Is he still living there?
I don't know. We just, he wasn't, he like went when the fire started. He booked it. Because you don't want to be around if a fire has started and you're the only one that was there and you're a homeless person.
You're going to get blamed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, so they just left a card where he was to help him see a Red Cross and Red Cross Red Shield. And then they boarded up the house because they were like, if there's a homeless person living out there, we don't want him
Trying to get in here and like hurting himself or something.
Yeah.
Well, even that day, the amount of like, when we were cleaning it out, yeah. So, I mean, I realize that's going to kind of go away, but the moisture, because got sodden carpets from the firefighters putting out the fire, as they do. I mean, you would have mold. You would have it would not be good to live in. So, not be healthy.
So, moral of the story: renters insurance, and have an awesome community. Also, landlords were pretty cool. Helped us out quite a bit.
Like financially?
No.
No. Yeah. It's a landlord. They're not gonna do that.
But they did buy the dumpster that we needed to put everything into. So.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
But also, I'm sure as landlords, they don't just want stuff strewn around their land, so they probably did that to get you guys to throw it all away.
Truth.
In truth.
But now let's get back to painting.
That's a little bit of a life story, so you can be encouraged, learn from things that happen, yada yada yada. So, yep, just a few quick planes here, and this book is very much alive and working.
It was crazy how quickly you were able to do that. Didn't have to do too much, and even in the final layer, we'll kind of approach it in a similar manner. Just a few planes and some value it'll do the work for you, and it's just a matter of really blocking that in.
As I watch him paint, all I can think of is Happy Little Tree. Copyrighted.
No, a statement like that can't be copyrighted.
I don't know. There's a lot of people who do his tutorials online.
He's probably in a...
Vince, how do you feel about Bob Ross?
I mean,
Is this the time for that? Or?
I don't know. I don't know that it is. I don't know that it ever will be.
He's still working through his death.
Yeah, so I'm still mourning.
Yeah. Hey, we all mourn in different ways.
Who's your favorite artist throughout all of time? And then, who's your favorite artist currently? As in, still alive, still doing art.
Oh, I know that I work a lot in tenebrism, and some of the chief tenebrists would be Caravaggio, Rembrandt, but I mean, the heavy hitters throughout history, those guys, Vermeer.
Delacroix.
I mean, not as much, I know
That's the
that.
only painter or
I mean, I know we talked about that, but I kind of talked more of it in an art historical sense. But but at least for me, those probably be my favorites. And then
Da Vinci?
I mean, you know, I
That's the
Andrew White.
no. Somebody's looking at my bookshelf.
Yeah.
Edward Hopper.
I was trying to find Caravaggio.
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo.
Michael.
Yeah, it's you're close, Sean. Michel.
Ha! I was closer than you were.
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo.
There's a la. Well, probably all right. So if you, nice thing about Italian is, you know, there's only one way to say a vowel. So it's really easy to read once you know some of the. You don't have vowels changing sound on you as much.
Like English.
Yeah.
Who's Andrew White?
Wyeth. American. Son of N.C. Wyeth, I think. But well, it's kind of 3 generations of great artists. And I can't remember who the more current Wyeth was off the top of my head. But so I may have gotten the name wrong. American, good, great painting and drawing, great work, beautiful stuff.
Andrew Newell Wyeth was an American visual artist, primarily a realist painter. Huh, that's him. Let's see. His resting place is Hawthorne Cemetery in Maine.
So is his father N.C. Wyeth there?
Yep.
Okay.
N.C. Wyeth guidance.
Yeah.
Biography.
Yeah, there's you read stories about Andrew as a child basically hanging out in his father's studio and just drawing with the materials that were on the ground. And so there's my dream that my children would do something like that, but as far as I can tell, I have little to no interest in that sort of a thing. And I'm definitely of the camp that I'm not gonna press it at all.
Push hard on them.
No, because they're their own people. So
Yeah. I think one of them's gonna be an engineer.
yeah, I kind of feel that too. A little more numbers minded and physical space design, and yeah, you really kind of think structurally, and I think my daughter will be the artist if there is one to be.
She could be anything.
It's true.
She's got a lot.
Got a lot.
Personality.
That's how you say nice things about people.
I feel like she could be a Pixar animator. Just throwing that out there.
Well,
Into existence.
we shall see.
Give her 15 years. 20.
All right, I'm going to switch over to the dove. This has been the last part that I have to document here. Shift this just a little bit.
Do you know President George Bush and Laura Bush decorated a room of the White House with Wyeth's stuff?
I wouldn't be too surprised. I mean, his work is good. You know, from an American standpoint, I mean, one of the great realists of his time. Not often, as with many realists who had to try to keep creating work through the 60s, 70s, 80s. God bless him. because they had to fight everything else that was going on in art to a degree that
Picasso.
they were highly just marginalized.
Is that one realist we're reading Undone and there's more surrealist and
Not surrealist. I mean, really abstract expressionism, and then kind of have postmodernism, and now there's almost not anything after that.
Wow, he started with watercolors.
Yeah.
Wyeth at age 20 had, oh no, that was his first one-man exhibition of watercolors in New York City. The entire inventory of paintings sold out, and his life path seemed certain. His style was different from his father's, more spare, drier, and more limited in color range. He stated his belief that the greater danger of the Piles school is picture making. He did some book illustrations in his early career, but not to extent that N.C. Wyeth did. He's a visual artist, as a realist painter. He was in Life magazine.
Yeah.
He was a big guy. He made it to 91 years old. And was married to Betsy James, whom he met in 1939 in Maine. She played an important role managing his career. She was once quoted as saying, "I am a director and I had the greatest actor in the world."
Oh.
Their first child, Nicholas, was born in 1843, followed by James 3 years later. And then his son, Jamie, followed his father's and grandfather's footsteps, became the third generation of Wyeth artists.
That's what I was gonna say. I knew there was a third generation, but I couldn't remember the name.
Andrew would be the role model and teacher to his son, Jamie, that his father, N.C., had been to him. That's nice.
Yeah, secret hope that the kids will, at some point, be interested. But
How did you get into art?
well, it was one of those things where, quite literally, I was just always doing it. You know, as a kid, I was the artist in my school. I was the creator. And so naturally, when asked, you know, what are you gonna do when you grow up? My answer was artist. And so yeah, I would say early on, it was kind of decided before I even began. My mom had some gifting in that realm. Never cultivated, really, but yeah.
Do you guys want to learn new painters? What other good painters that I can look up that most people don't know? Or that aren't like a house name?
I don't know, to go back to David's question, so I didn't finish it. So now, like, kind of living artists, you know, I'd say living artists that I respect a great deal. Well, I kind of brought up some old names. So a little more modern artists that I appreciate. Of course, Sean, you said him, but I've always loved Edward Hopper, and I John Singer Sargent. You can say these names, and if you have a visual vocabulary in your head, I think it's really easy to be like, how are these related necessarily? And so I get it if it seems like, they handled paint very differently. But there's that kind of unique mixture of interest in each of these individuals that kind of makes up my body of work. Influences me. Then when I think about modern day painters, living masters, if you will, you're going to get a lot of argument here from people who love certain realists who I would be able to agree with and say, they make great and beautiful work, and they're, it's gifted. It's all the pieces are in play, but what is depicted falls into the category of everything that was all the reasons why, for good reason, realism was treated the way it was. Things just being kind of overly sentimental, or which you probably say, well, or what are you depicting here? And that's fair. I am making a commission, so I'm working within bounds, but the work was generally overly sentimental, lacked kind of an acknowledgement of where it is in time. And so there's a lot of great artists, but few, I think, do what they're doing very well in the media presently. So Nick Alm, by far, is one of my favorite painters. I think he does a really good job of painting, but keeping painting relevant now, but then also just having a technique with the beauty of John Singer Sargent's brushwork, or Zorn's simplicity of mark that still successfully captures everything. So those guys are just absolute favorites. I think phenomenal. So yeah, Nick Alm. There's Julio Reyes. He largely does work in the vein of egg tempera, and he does a great job of bringing great painting, but then subject matter that is presently relevant. It just, again, beautiful work. The painting itself is wonderful, and subject matter therein also just phenomenal. So I like those guys quite a bit. There's numerous others I'm just not going to think of, but those Joshua LaRock is very well known and good. Colleen Barry, Will St. John. I could just keep going on and on. So
Nice. What are your thoughts on art in the future?
I think we've come to a time where pretty much anything goes. So At the same time, I think we've also come to a time where figurative realism or even just representational art is on its way maybe back into fashion, comes and goes, but it's not so looked down on, I guess, as much.
Yeah.
Although certainly encounter plenty of it. Even reaching out to certain individuals within my past about my work being auctioned at Sotheby's. It's interesting to see who responds and who doesn't, and who enthusiastically embraces it, and who does not. So yeah, if you're here, drop us a line. What's happening? Is anyone here? Maybe that's a better question.
Yeah, there's 2 people here,
All right.
but no one said nothing.
Drop us a line if you'd like. I've got to decide what I want to do next. I might just let you choose, as long as the paint is wet underneath. So you're here, you're watching. What do you want to see happen? Tell us. You might just happen. I mean, I'm good with that too. So.
What are the options?
Anything. Let's do it.
Like adding color or...
Yeah, we can begin on final layers for certain areas. So we should speak up. Otherwise, I'm just going to randomly choose.
What is the part you're most excited to get to?
I mean, always faces and hands are always the most kind of exciting point for me.
Is it because they're the ones that kind of start showing the painting, or they're difficult and you like the difficult task of making them? Or do you find cloth more difficult?
No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, the difficulty is what's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Also, also the most satisfying, right? I mean, just think of someone playing the piano and the difference between playing hot cross buns and, playing Rachmaninoff. And so if you're...
I can play hot cross buns, but that's about it.
So you want to... I think, before that was hijacked, I think that it's pretty obvious what is more satisfying to play. So what was more satisfying to play, to recreate in the art? it's definitely the hardest part, the most rewarding.
Yeah. I guess then my vote is Mary's face. No one else has anything. But, so, when you're painting, is background to foreground? Like some people will say do background to foreground.
Yeah, and you can really you can do anything if you're careful enough.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Is the background to foreground just because if you mess up and you've already got the face done, but then you like slice through it with some background or go over?
yeah. I mean, those things are all fixable with oil, but yeah, I mean, there's some level of like, whoops, didn't mean for that to happen. And yeah, you're getting a little bit of coverage on top of if you're painting over your edges a little bit. Then that's going to be the upmost layer, and therefore we'll feel like it's on top of the others. A lot of people recommend that, and a lot of times I work that way, back forward. But then other times I'm like, I need something a little more satisfying than just working on the background and extra objects. It's something to kind of give energy to the rest of the piece, or even establish to what level I'm going to take the rest of the piece, because maybe the painting turns out really well, being a little looser or something, than just the way the face turns out. Okay, I think we got a good value sketch on the bird. So I've got 2.5 hours or so. Difficult to decide. Where to go next? Everything is dry in the background. Okay, last chance for those watching the stream. If you want to see something happen in a certain area, let us know. Got the whole painting.
It's a pretty big painting. I think David had a good idea. Mary's face.
Let the light shine.
Nobody wants to wear the boss badge on the stream.
Nope, nobody's stepping up.
All right. Just realized I could do a little more right here. I appreciate the insight there, David. I think what I'll do is we'll save a full day for that. If we start now, then because people are gonna come to a stream like that. They're gonna watch kind of like we did last time, watch that unfold. So we've only got a couple hours left. We will probably want to announce that on the day we do it. So I think my plan will be to instead move elsewhere. So amazing how quick they ride. Neighbor's doing lawn work. We need a big red light on the outside of the house. It says,
I don't know when we're recording.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Thought he woke me up at 4:10.
Hey, that's all right, man. 2:30 here.
2:30.
I haven't slept since.
What about you, Sean?
I didn't fall asleep until 2:30. That's great.
So you went to sleep.
Yeah, when I was waking up.
Yeah,
I mean,
this
I was
is
trying to go to sleep, it just didn't work.
right.
Just laid there for 4 hours.
Oh. That's not fun.
Insomnia is real in this house. Not sure what gives, but
I've never dealt with it before. Not really.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're
And we're back.
Look at that.
I just got a notification. Is someone streaming?
Yeah, it's us.
Oh wow.
Because we went offline and now we're back online.
What's a dream painting of yours, Vince? Like, if you had all the time, what would you paint?
I don't know. I've honestly I've already done many of them. Yeah, which is blessed to be able to say that.
Do you have the next one?
Yeah, I do. I get to make kind of one just all out, incredible, big, full on composition, about one of those a year. And so, yeah, to a degree. I mean, I know these will be a little more. I'm going to get to make, the 5 joyful mysteries here, which each of them will have quite a bit of detail in them. But yeah, I've got a dream and picture in my mind of a few works that I would still like to make. There's usually a struggle involved of some kind within the piece, wrestling of hopelessness and hope and redemption, all of that kind of coming together to bear on each other. So, but yeah, I've got a couple more.
Would you say that's the reason why your art pieces are usually of struggle and hope and redemption? It's because it's part of your story, or your kind of what you know?
Oh, I mean,
or just the Christian kind of narrative.
I think a lot like Lewis, which, I know we talked about him yesterday, 2 days ago, yesterday, I think. And, I don't set out, again, this is very different. This is commission work, so I'm making the work that someone else is envisioning and asking me to make. I don't generally set out, I did at a time, set out to make Christian narratives. And now I kind of no longer do so. I set out to make visually what's interesting. So similarly, Lewis would say, I don't make anything expressly Christian. But instead, I just start making the things that interest me. He didn't, when he started Chronicles of Narnia, he didn't say, I'm going to try to create some theology here that kids might be able to grasp.
Yeah.
Instead, he said, I envisioned Sean, I think the focus is changing on this. I just hear it changing, something changing. Maybe it's light, I don't know.
Oh no, it was zoom in, zoom out.
Okay.
Because it was zooming out.
I just hear it changing, so I don't know if it's like trying to autofocus or something. If it's not, that's fine. Just double checking. Yeah. But that he pictured a fawn with a umbrella in the snow, and then he started making a story around that. So in the same way, like I'll have a picture or an image or just something that strikes me, something I see in life, something I read. Which is sometimes biblical, but I'm not necessarily setting out to tell those stories always, as much as just make a good painting. And oftentimes in making a good painting, I inadvertently tell those those themes and narratives. And I think that's how I see it work best. Lewis, great guidance on all that.
So because of these commissions, you probably won't do a big painting?
Well, I won't do this year. Yeah. There's way too much to do to try to finish by this year. Well, I guess since I'm kind of already doing some darker colors, maybe I will go and work on the background. And iron that out a little more.
I agree.
And because otherwise I like to, one of my methods, which, I don't realize we can't see, but maybe someday, being able to afford a multiple camera setup, we can show easel, palette, and so forth, that I like to mix piles of color before I begin. They don't have to be exact, but they just give me a little bit to continue to work from and dip into when I'm working on certain areas. And that itself, if I'm picking skin tones, or might take a little less if I were selecting the fabric for certain areas, I wouldn't have to mix near as many. But that process itself can take nearly 30-40 minutes just mixing those colors. So we're going to avoid that since we don't have a setup where you can see that. And not that you would want to just look at a palette mixing color for that long anyway and not see anything else. But hopefully we'll have some colors mixed and ready to go for tomorrow. And we'll aim to do one of the figures, probably Mary, tomorrow. See how far we get. But for now, I think I'm gonna just build up the background a little more. And see, there you go. I've decided to work from back to forward. One thing that I will, if the entire thing were dry, then I might rub in some oil here and there to try to just bring this, some of these areas that have gone matte, and just get those glossy again so I can see what I'm doing, get a little bit better view. But I do need to get some dark blacks in the shadows here on the arches. There are a few spaces where that is happening, so I do want to address that, and then we'll just see where we get from there. It's usually a pretty swift move across the canvas. There's some stones that I want to hint at in the overall arches, but again, I'm not trying to chase a lot of detail there. But I do like to establish the darkest dark so that I can compare all the rest of my values, which are very dark in the background, to it. So, and we'll have to mix some color here. To make a black. And mixing this chromatic black, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, it's a highly transparent black. As you can see in some of the areas where I've already placed it down, I did not get coverage. And so here's another layer which, even though, yes, it will start to read as a black, there's actually multiple layers of semi-transparent paint. One of the wonderful things about working in oil is that we may not be able to read that as we're looking at it, but it is. The light is traveling through it. Meanwhile, you have these opaque colors in the white, some yellow ochres and other things that are going to be present. And those kind of float in the sea of transparency, and they add to that overall feeling of volume. And
transparency.
yes.
Bad pun.
Going to be filling a lot of paint in here, so I think I'm just going to use this round. It is you gotta keep just some garbage brushes around that I can create a little bit of just brush energy on top of the brush energy, which was a flat that I used to fill in this area, but I'm going to use this round to just kind of fill in, still get coverage, but then hopefully achieve some of these deeper, darker colors, the deepest yet, as this begins kind of layer 2. And we'll see how far we can get. It would be nice, although, you know, I'm not using a terribly big brush. It'd be nice to see how far we get, see if maybe even, you know, this whole background was completed by the end of today. But it doesn't always work that way. So these are deep dark shadows over here. And even still, I can still see through it. I put this other layer on, but I can still see the marks underneath. I'm okay with that, again, for the energy that I think it brings. But I will want to try to achieve a little more coverage to, at least according to my eye, it still looks like nothing is like a black. Even though at this point, you know, we're getting a lot of layers active. This first layer was some horizontal strokes, so I'm going to go vertical on this in this space just to kind of create a little bit of a hatch. We up here in the studio, we sort of the north window is oversees the neighborhood. Let's put it that way. And in that we know what's happening. Let's just put it that way. so you should just come as far back as you can. And as much as you can see the entire thing. This nice deep dark shadow too.
Oh, that Corvette?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so, because he's trying to sell his other Corvette. So why would he buy a newer Corvette?
I believe he's buying it. So here you go. You guys get to know the neighborhood review.
I just like that all the neighbors flock. Like they all come to one place.
See what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that contrast. As soon as I get some of that rich oil color back in front of these flowers, in front of the lily, all of a sudden they really move out in front. It's the power of value to creating space. David, if you periodically just peek behind you, be grateful.
Next neighbor's coming.
step out for a second. Let's see. All right, I think it's looking. I'm just gonna step back and take a look at it. See where we're at on those deeper shadows. Yeah, it's definitely doing that. It's giving us that third depth there. Third layer of depth, which is nice. We're really kind of starting to see the whole composition come into being. I just really had to stand up for a second. It's warm in the studio. Got a ceiling fan going, but that's still uncomfortable. All right. So I want to tell a little bit about what the bricks are doing in the back, but that's going to take a little bit of drawing. I didn't bother with that drawing when I put the background in, because I think that's something that I could kind of just do as I go. So I'm going to work on that for a little bit, I think, and then. Then we'll see how it turns out. I'll try to sketch those into place now. Ouch. Decide where I want the next mark, about like that. So if I want to get exact and make these near close, I can do things just like use my brush to some marker. I can kind of say, all right, here-ish. There's some slight value changes on these. I'll try to do my best to get some of that and see how it turns out. It's fun to mix neutrals on my palette, and I've shared a little bit about what colors I use on previous streams, but it's nice to use complementary colors to create some interesting grays and neutrals that have a lot of life in them, because they're made with fairly intense color, but they are not, they themselves, you can't tell because they've neutralized each other. But then there's still a lot of energy there, so I like to use those when I can. I mean, to a degree, my black, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna is a mixture of complements. They're across one another on the color wheel, so they neutralize one another, and creates some very interesting forms and color. You just want some of that play, even in areas that are like, oh, it's kind of dark and gray, but it does a lot for the work. Probably a little more of an important area here. All of the figures and the elements are interacting, so I'll probably want to spend a little more time describing this area to a degree rather than the outer areas. Those will still be needing done correctly, but we'll do better to spend a little more time for background elements in this space. Now I'm kind of mixing a little more freely. But I still want to use the energy of the brush mark underneath. I don't want to completely hide that, but let it at times create some of that texture in the rock and in the stone of these blocks, these bricks. Just let it do the work. And I think a good painting allows for all of that to be seen on some level. I want a little bit of the ground layer to still show through. I want a little bit of that first kind of block-in layer to show through. And then the kind of finishing final layer. Yes, I want to be detailed, but only detailed enough. And then it's good. We're just going for the right amount of information, not just simply what we are trying to depict. It's the beauty of what we're doing. It's oil painting, not a camera. Kind of just picking and choosing what bricks I want to paint to. So I'm looking at my reference, but at the same time, I'm just like, ooh, that one looks interesting, and so I'll plot it down, right where I want it to go. It's also kind of a fun part because, you know, I'm not having to put forth a lot of effort at this point, and it's nice. Not stressing like I will for hands and faces. As we talked about earlier, is one of the reasons why they're fun to do is because they're difficult, but also there's that kind of question each time. You know, can I do this? Yep, I've done it many times over the years, but can I do it this time? And you know, that kind of hangs out there while creating. Will it be successful this time? It's been the excitement you get working on each piece. Again, if you're on the stream, you're welcome to drop in a question, any part of this process. I'm happy to share, happy to talk, happy to just kind of talk about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. Especially if you just jumped in, you've probably already said the thing that you want to know. So I'm just trying not to repeat myself. So we got a lot of real estate to cover here. Created a little bit, just leaving some of that first layer of paint here and there. Just creating a little bit of energy there, textural work that's kind of already done. And I don't have to try to tell the viewer about every little thing that this brick in the background is doing. Like it's overworking it. Do my best to avoid that.
So how do you walk that line between overworking and underworking it?
As soon as it holds space, I quit. So I just don't take it any farther. I don't need to. I think it's easy to keep going, but you just got to show restraint and say, "Yep, it's there. It's working." And I think that just comes with years of doing it. And sometimes it's like, that might not turn out so good. And then you just stop doing it then. Because like, well, whatever I put down next might not be as good. That's happened a time or two too. Where I'm like, I think that's good enough. So sometimes it's purely fear. And then other times it's like, no, that's it. I got there. I did it. Trying to be reply to that email about the large scale print. Yeah, not a whole lot to say when I'm just filling in. Wish I had more. I sure don't. And so, questions from you are actually the most valuable thing right now. So if you're watching, ask me anything. If I feel like I can answer it, I will. Doesn't even need to be about painting. If I feel like I can answer it, I will.
Fuzzy Harmonica said, "Hola, is this the big one?"
The big one. It is a big one. I don't know. I don't know. It's maybe which big one he's talking about. Good to hear from you, Fuzzy. AKA VINCENT.
Is it the biggest one of the 5?
What are your thoughts on potatoes?
Potatoes. Well, I've learned a lot about potatoes, especially in the last couple months. They are a nightshade, in the nightshade family, and which means they share a family with other nightshades such as peppers, and tomatoes are nightshade as well. And yeah, nightshades are pretty rough on our bodies. Quickly learning. not personally, but watching someone I love go through a lot of like dietary searching, trying to figure out what it is that's causing so much grief. Nightshades have turned out to be one of them. So watch out for those potatoes. That's what I'm saying. What do you think about potatoes? Are you growing some right now?
I didn't expect to learn so much about potatoes, to be honest. I like them fried, mashed, etc.
Yes. Indeed. Yeah, I think maybe if in saying is this the big one, yeah, this is one of the pieces that's going into the commission. I think that might have been the question you had there, Vincent. And it this is piece number 1 of 5, but then there are 2 other kind of companion pieces that also go with it that will be added.
We've had some good additions to the conversation, though.
Yeah.
So, do I call him fuzzy harmonica?
What?
Should I call him fuzzy harmonica? He said, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew, and then Anna said, potatoes.
Yes, there you go.
Sam?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I adore the books, but I'm not so keen on the movies. So just gonna put that out there. Minus shipping.
Yep.
And we'll try to encourage the U.S. shipping.
For that size?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Sean. Love the books. I think I talked about it yesterday. Can't wait to read them to my young ones as soon as they are old enough.
He says, I don't mind my name being used. I just use my really old retro YouTube name. I have not read the books yet. I have read The Hobbit, though.
Yeah.
The books were just too detailed for me. I mean, it set it up for great movies to be created.
Sure. You have a good world to work with.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you know exactly, like, he got all the details.
Yeah.
So maybe he knew that one day there'd be a form of art that could showcase everything he wanted to see in real life.
Oh, I saw this. There's it looked pretty bad. It was this Russian version of The Hobbit.
Nice. The Russians do everything.
Like kind of a made-for-TV sort of a thing. It looks wild. I don't think I could spend the time to actually make it work, but make it work. And by that I mean just watch it, because it's pretty painful. But yeah, it's worth searching and just looking at like the initial couple of scenes. It was entertaining, to say the least.
I don't know. The trilogy Hobbit was pretty hard.
Well, yes. I'm way better with the Lord of the Rings trilogy than I am with the Hobbit trilogy. I don't have any faith in Peter Jackson after the Hobbit trilogy. So
He just added way too much to it. There's some decent parts. I did like the battle of the 7 armies. That was pretty cool.
five armies.
5 armies. My bad.
And it's canon, man. You can't. So So here's my problem though. They showed them, singing the Misty Mountains song inside, and you're like, yes, this is what it's gonna be. And then it just turned out to be this kind of let's do a lot of kind of hokey action, and yeah, so disappointing. So maybe somebody else will do something with it someday. Redeems it. Redemption. Talked about redemption on this day quite a bit. Somebody please redeem those for the film.
But Benedict Cumberbatch.
That guy.
Just a voice.
I mean,
Is he in The Hobbit?
yeah, he's Smog, the terrible.
Yeah.
And I will say, the actor who played Bilbo?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did pretty
Oh
good.
yeah, he's again, but
Great actor.
and therein lies my problem. Sean's gonna hate just hearing this again, because we already had this conversation like last week or something, 2 weeks ago maybe. Basically, you have all-star actors. Use them. Don't try to Don't try to knock me off out of my seat with these action scenes. Show me great acting from great actors who don't need to do that sort of thing to create excitement. Just think of the great writers, the great movies that can create tension and such good storytelling. And you don't need action to create excitement. You need acting. You need to let great talents and acting do their job. And when you do that, wow. So.
I don't know. I really wanted to see a dwarf and a elf fall in love.
That's so dumb.
That's my number
One of the dumbest things. Cucumber Patch. How do you tell a story with a painting?
All right.
Now we're getting back to it.
Hey, thanks, Cucumber Patch.
Vincent, he said we could use his name.
Oh, okay.
The cucumber patch was his name for Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a new person to the stream. I was gonna say yes.
You've made it.
It's one of the ways I try to create, I guess, drama, if you will, within a static image is light. So, I'm trying to utilize light. Pose and composition, really important. So, like with this one, her gaze is going to meet the dove,
That's not
the spirit.
Oh.
You just need to come all the way back because we're rolling all over this thing. So the gaze here is important. The gaze here is important. These are diagonals that are going to create success, and then the rest is other intentional diagonals like the table, which is going to bring us again to Mary's face. That sort of the way we frame the character here. Kind of in her own space here. So we do things like that. And then just other ways in which we utilize implied diagonals, implied line that travel throughout the piece. The looks, the hands move things, fingers move things back, and take us certain places using these lines, these applied lines. You can create movement throughout the piece for the eye, but then I think the light is that other part of it that creates excitement in kind of a static image. If that makes sense. It's a great question.
subject for painting later, what kind of details are you looking to capture?
Good question. So I'm thinking about I'm really seeing a painting before anything else. So I spend a lot of times modeling the hands. I spend a lot of time working on various angles of the head and face. Lots of different looks, and then eventually, those kind of all come together. Presently the image consists of many different photographs that I just kind of piece together in Photoshop and everything is sort of movable, so I'm placing them in different orientations and just trying to find what I would consider the most interesting of the images I gathered. I will say it's almost always that I get images that are only so good, right? So I'm stuck with what I have. I try to get everything that I can get, but it's still a matter of poring over that until I feel like, okay, yeah, this is the image that's exciting, and this will create the best composition out of what I do have. Occasionally I'll go back to the drawing board and I will get the model back out, or I myself I'll have a good idea of what I want, and I will then drop in and maybe do a hand. Oftentimes it's the hands. Occasionally it's a face, or maybe a little bit of drapery or something that I need to just remedy. But a lot of times it's hands that forces me to go back in and take some more shots for a successful painting. So I'm looking for interesting light and shadow play. I'm looking for clarity. There's one thing that I try to be very careful to do is to overtell the story. I don't want things to be so obscure or have a weird angle on a hand or a face that just doesn't help with the overall goal of creating volume and creating something that works as a painting. So I will take a lot of time playing when I'm in the modeling session with the hands and the different parts. And usually we arrive on a whole that looks really good, and so Mary is mostly that. I think there's maybe a few things that I changed. And the angel Gabriel is a mix of an arm, a hand, a head. So basically it's building it, so I'm looking for a certain thing in the photo shoot, but at the same time, I know I'm coming back to build. So if I find a few things that I really like, then that's usually enough to be like, okay, this is ready. But yeah, my model would tell you, man, you keep messing with the hands, and that's the truth. I just keep fiddling until I find like I have something that both I think communicates and is interesting and clear. Can't emphasize that enough. Really needs to be clear. The burden of proof falls on the artist. So I can't just pick an image because I'm like, oh yeah, that works. or it was a photograph, right? So we all know that it was real. It doesn't really work either, because you have to say what might work as a photograph, because we readily accept it, will not work for a painting. So I'm usually pretty slow to paint something if some fingers are strangely behind others, or if it just doesn't quite work. Sometimes it's fine. Other times it just ends up looking strange. I really mean no offense by this, but if you go to the Sotheby's link and you look at some of the artwork there that's being sold alongside of mine, there's one of a little girl, and the hand and arm is at an angle that I'm sure worked in a photograph, but the translation of it into a painting became problematic. And it kind of does that thing where it's difficult. It's a good example. I have many examples in my own paintings. They're just not here in front of you right now. Or immediately accessible. Eyeing this. Don't like that. Let's see. I have to actually step in here and do a proper measurement. So sometimes when I'm measuring structures, or I'll just get out the ruler and measure this, make sure it's just even, take a point, make lines. If I have a little more time and I'm not working, try to work swiftly.
Got a big question.
Big one. Woo!
How are the ducks?
Well, everyone is out living their duck lives now. We are
Both flew in the coop.
empty nesters. So, everyone is gone on to be their own person, right? That's what we want. We didn't want any lifers here at our house. So, we released them into the wild. So the one we raised from the egg, even at about 5-6 weeks old, was still, I think he was almost 6 weeks old, was still very attached to us and had a hard time letting go. At the same time, didn't want us anywhere near it. It was absolutely like, get away from me. But when you went away from it, it would get very emotional and sad, and then come waddling back. So that one was a little harder, a little mokey, but the others were pretty indifferent because they were, I think, born a little more wild, and I think hatched from an egg, from a live mallard, rather than just an incubated group of randos in Wichita, Kansas, and so it. In fact, literally yesterday, just released our third one. That these are the sort of things that happen when you have a duck. You get invited to have more ducks because people know you have ducks. So we rescued a third one that had fallen to a window well of a friend, and he was really wild from the get-go, and so we released him or her, I don't know, and they just went out into the pond without a second, without basically turning around or looking or caring whatsoever. Just went on, and then we kind of walked to a different area of the park. Just wanted to see, okay, is the duck really okay on its own? And we came back to find it all the way across this particular pond, and quite content, not looking back, not caring in the slightest. So that one was ready to go. So it's very interesting. From, I guess, depending on that, the whole imprinting thing is amazing. And I just had never experienced it before. So all done. I'm kind of glad on one respect. It was fun for the kids and all, but I get stuck with the cleaning of the cage and whatnot. So.
And ducks are real dirty.
Yep. They're just ducks, they like water. I love water.
They absolutely really like to get into the food with the water, and then they would make like mud, and then they would shake it everywhere.
Yeah, it's true. So ends the tale of the ducklings.
But I think it was a good experience for the kids.
Yeah.
They seemed to really like it. And it was fun, holding a duck. I've never held a duck before.
Yeah, it was fun. And maybe another spring, if an opportunity arises, we would do it again. But I'll be happy to have a little bit more of my morning and evening back. Especially with the last duck. He or she just didn't want anything to do with us. And so, Moki was sweet. So it was kind of nice having him around, but
yeah, Donald was he was a character, that's for sure. Character duck. I mean, they were all character ducks, but Donald was just very against anybody.
Yeah, you couldn't even walk by the enclosure without getting snapped at. You know, not that a duck at that age can hurt you, but is like, I don't like you. I don't want you. I'm huffing and puffing. I don't want you anywhere near me. And so we showed him lots of grace. Suppose it would have been fun in some way to tag them so that you could maybe see him, you know, if you went back to the park, see if, I don't know how to do that in a way that is not invasive for them.
Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? Definitely 100 duck-sized horses.
That would just be really cute. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd take on 100 horses that are small.
You just like punt them. Just walk through like a giant. But what size duck? Like a duckling or like, you know, the ducks that we were letting go? Because they get a lot bigger. 100 of those would be pretty difficult. And are the horses fighting back? Full-size duck. That's a lot of horses.
Okay, now, but even in that, are we talking like a big domesticated duck, or are we talking about a mallard? Because, you know, some ducks are like half the size of other ducks. You know, as ours were mallards, you know, mallards aren't all that terribly big.
He does make a good point, though. He's seen some people try and fight a goose, but also I kind of want to know where you saw this because I want to go there. So he thinks the horses may have a chance.
But a goose is different than a duck.
Oh yeah, goose is giant, but...
And a goose has rage.
Yeah, horses can have rage, though, too.
Yeah.
We're not talking... These ducks, they're not ducks, they're horses. Have you seen a horse kick somebody? Imagine 100 little horse legs that size just coming together and kicking you back. I think I would do the horse-sized duck. Because it really can't do much. I mean, the duck's not super violent. So you just have to jump on its back and like ride it like a horse.
It was pretty cute though. Donald, our most aggressive one, he would he would bite, and he would bite and hold on and like wiggle his little head around as though he were really doing damage. I mean, it was kind of cute. In respect.
Horse-sized duck still has hollow bones. I think I would be the fight I choose. I agree with Vincent. Plus, imagine mounting a horse-sized duck head like on your wall after you're victorious. That's the real trophy. Then you make like a duck skin curtain. What else would you do?
Well, apparently mallards are really tasty. That's what a friend told me when I told him kind of what our family was doing. He's like, "Oh, you have the best flavor, most flavorful duck," and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
We're gonna have to eat this duck.
And then he proceeded to show me a TikTok of a girl who was holding a duckling at like 1 week, 2 week, you know, then she'd come back in the song and show the next week with the duck, you know, week 2, week 3, week 4, you know, you just watch it getting bigger and bigger. And then I think like week 6 or 7, she comes back out with clearly a roasted bird of some kind and begins eating it. So he he thought that was pretty funny.
Huh.
Sorry if you're vegan. I'm just saying there are other people in the world that find that sort of thing amusing.
There'd be a lot of duck meat. It was the size of a horse.
So it could be tasty. So it could be. We're going to go for about another hour-ish. So thanks for being here. If you just dropped in, welcome, welcome. Good to have you. If not, well, I'm just glad that you're still here. If you've been hanging around, thank you.
Have you ever had squirrel? Also tasty.
Nope.
I've not tried squirrel. It's weird how the little animals are like the most tasty though, I guess.
Maybe.
Eaten the little ones, but maybe it's because you just have to like appreciate it so much because there's such little amount of meat there.
That's just a lot of work.
Yeah, you'd have to pluck it, and for the squirrel you'd have to skin it. That'd just be a lot.
Okay.
What about rabbit?
I've not personally, no.
Nope. And these are super adorable animals. I don't look at them and be like, that would go well in my stomach.
So I think if you lived off a rabbit, you would die because they don't have the nutritional value they need.
Well, you would, because if you're like 6.5 feet tall, you need like 500 grams of protein a day.
You're a giant.
Obviously, you would definitely need more than rabbit. So what I'm hearing is man can't live off of rabbit alone.
Yeah.
Well, that's an assumption, but I think it might be right.
I mean, my wife grew up on a farm, and at times they ate her rabbits. So, like, she raised and did the whole 4-H thing with rabbits, and then they would also be eaten. So, there you go. Sometimes you had to eat a beloved pet. Never cruelly, but just happened. Life on the farm.
Vincent says he's running out of questions.
Thanks for the ones you did offer. Really appreciate it. It's good to hear from you. Appreciate you a lot.
Now he's singing the Circle of Life song. It's the circle.
Yeah, we try not to sing songs that will start YouTube's copyright thing. So, hey, but I've got a friend making some music. For this very thing. I'm really excited.
Oh, you get 6 seconds.
6 seconds?
I think for like a copyrighted song. Maybe? I don't know. I don't know if that's what he meant or not. He just said you get 6 seconds. I don't know if he's also telling us that like he's gonna come after us in 6 seconds.
You have 6 seconds to get away.
He said, yeah. To the assassination attempt or to the copyrighted song? Six seconds of copyrighted song. So if you can sing a whole song in 6 seconds, you beat the system.
If you're that guy who did the Micro Machines commercials, I don't remember. You have to be my age to remember them. He was like the fastest talker.
Oh yeah, I've seen that guy.
He would sing Billie Jean in like 10 seconds or something like that. Yeah.
You'd still get sued.
It's pretty amazing though.
Crayons can melt on For All I Care by Reliant K. I understand crayons, I understand melts, I understand Reliant K.
I don't know that one.
Crayons can melt on us. All I Care by Reliant K. I think we need to flesh this out a little bit further.
He's trying to write a song.
Reliant K's already a band though.
So Reliant K like really got this person. Crowns can melt on For All I Care by Reliant K.
Yeah, but crayons can melt on us for all I care.
Is it a 6 second song or something?
Crayons can melt on all us.
It takes more than 6 seconds to even say.
Yeah. Ready? Go.
Crowns can melt on us for all I care. Reliant K. Wow.
That's 4 seconds.
Oh, band name and first album name.
I would make you some music, but I've only come up with my band name and the first album name.
What are these? Or would you have to take us out if we learned your band name?
It's already been 6 seconds. I don't think he's going to kill us. This hasn't started yet.
Or it has already started. It's just the slow death.
You drank that water. Why did you drink that water?
Oh, no.
It's in the water!
I thought it was going through the air vents.
That'd make more sense.
Yeah. To get all of us.
Yeah, because we're not all drinking from your...
I mean, you can.
I don't want to.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Let's make another stone. Another brick, another stone.
That's pretty good. Jungle Rabbits, and the first album is Submarine Forest.
Yep.
Those are two things that I'm very curious about.
Jungle rabbits.
What is a jungle rabbit? And What does it mean for a submarine to be in the forest? Or is it a bunch of like sunken submarines that make a forest? I'm gonna Google jungle rabbits and see what happens. Should I? I feel like nothing weird. There is a jungle rabbit.
What does it look like? Oh. Looks like a rabbit.
Yeah, it looks like a rabbit. The jungle. The elusive jungle rabbit keeps researchers on the hop.
Clever title.
I picture a bunch of submarines stuck upright in the ground. Yep, that's what I was picturing too, but underwater. I honestly didn't know jungle rabbits were a thing. That changes everything. That changes everything. It does.
Gotta have a research team.
That's why I'm here.
And they're elusive, so not the research.
It keeps
team.
the researchers on the hop.
Uh,
I feel like my puns are better than that. That's what makes me more valuable.
Oh, working away on these. This is it's weird. These spaces like this where you're just kind of doing a repetitious sort of a thing. You're like, it's getting there. You're slowly describing the parts you need to, but it can also be very tiring. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to
I'm
move.
tired and I'm just watching you.
Yeah. So just imagine. 2:30, my friends. 2:30.
what's 2:30?
I woke up this morning.
Oh, it's like it's 3:42, man.
You've only been up for 13 hours.
That's not too bad.
Not too bad. So I guess let that be a thing too. You know, I think there's a little bit of romanticism around an artist feeling the need or to be motivated or inspired or something. I mean, yeah, there's something to that, but at the same time, sometimes you just got to get up and do it, even if you're not well rested.
We haven't really been well rested the entire time I've lived here.
Yeah. It brings a curse. So I'm using some of the texture of the brushwork on the layer underneath, as well as a little bit of a more opaque color. Also a little bit of a complementary color. So there's a little bit of greenish leaning to the brick that is being offset and just kind of creating that energy for the eye, because this is warm. I mean, it's a near neutral, but it's still warm, and so the color I'm putting on is a little greenish, a little blue, just to create a little bit of visual intensity in the eye.
I like this guy. He said he needs a painting of his cat.
Yep, we've talked about it.
Did you ever get your Nikon fixed? We got it sold.
We got it sold.
Which fixes it?
Sold the broken one.
Fixes it.
Which, yeah, fixes it for somebody else. They bought it to fix it, so hopefully they did fix it.
Yeah.
But then we upgraded.
Yeah. We got the
D850.
850.
It's got a touchscreen.
Oh, yeah, touchscreen.
pretty wild. Well, and greater overall resolution, which is nice for me because, I mean, there is a weird thing that happens, like when I take a picture of one of these works to archive it just for the future or for prints in the future, I'm limited to what cameras can currently do, and so I've got to I just gotta be okay with that. So it's nicer the greater the resolution, you know, I guess the more detail. If someone in the future needed to research these in any way, they could zoom in and see more. And anyway.
He said he thinks he finally took a picture of his cat worth painting.
All right.
And then he said you wouldn't have those problems with a Canon. And then he said I also upgraded my camera recently. And you ever thought about shooting on film?
A lot of artists do. They at least for archiving their work, because they look at it as you know, this, at least on film, you kind of have every bit of detail possible. So yeah, there's a lot of artists who swear by, like, if you're going to document your work, you do it with film, because then at least you have the negative and sort of as much information as you might ever need, rather than being limited to a certain resolution of the day. So yeah, never really thought about it, but knowing, yeah, a lot of artists swear by it and think it's the best way to go.
What if he meant shooting? Oh no, it says on film, not your art. Literally taking a gun and shooting your artwork.
Look, if somebody wants to see that happen, they can pay for it.
I mean, there's an artist who paints and then runs the painting. So.
How much would it take for you to set this piece on fire that you're working on right now?
I've got a number for you.
What is it?
At least the price of the work, and then probably more than, because I still have to make it again, because
Anybody?
I'm still under contract. So
There's 3 people in here. We're looking about a 10 grand price. Anybody wants to? We could take it out into the lawn right now.
live stream.
Yeah.
Live stream the burning of a beautiful painting.
Hey, maybe someday, you know, if we're on Twitch or something, and you know, we're taking donations or something.
That was an idea.
Yeah. I mean, this guy who runs the art piece shows it only to the person who commissioned it, and then he runs it. So he doesn't take any pictures of it, no film, and no one else sees it except for him and the person it was commissioned for, and then he dips it in the paint and gives it to them.
Why?
Conceptuals.
Yeah.
I've got the firepower if you need it. Fire. I don't think we would use like actual firearms to do it. I don't think that would do much. I think we really need to light it on fire. Because I mean, even if you shoot it with like a 30-06 or like 50 cal,
Well, he could
it's
be
just gonna be
saying he's
whole.
got like actual fire powers. Really, this is the first mutant.
like the Avatar.
Or
Firebenders.
Pyro
Fire. Oh, where that?
from the X-Men, but
Could be.
Avatar too.
Yeah, Avatar's pretty cool.
Or he's got a flower that has fire in it, and it's Mario.
That was 4 seconds.
Well, if you sing a song,
Are you being literal or am I? Yes, you're being literal. They're asking about you.
Huh?
literal.
Who is the literal one in studio today? It's David Mizell. Or, sorry,
Cucumber melon.
Cucumber melon. That's what it is.
Cucumber veg.
So bad at this.
That's okay. You say David. You just don't say the last
Yeah,
name.
I know. I don't know why I went for the last name.
Sean Gatsby. I like that one, actually. You should go with that last name. Gatsby.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I put my name in the Patreon post.
Mm-hmm. You did. And my name's in the Patreon.
So Sean Osby.
Because
And
why do I always say your name is Sean Otsby?
because, I don't know, you go towards your sheep, your Irish sheep again. Thompson.
Thompson. Oh, Thompson.
Also, my name is Irish, so, well, my last name's Scandinavian, but my mom's maiden name was Irish, so it's kind of like an Irish name. It's basically my parents just put together two names that were super difficult to spell.
My mom's maiden name was Ruth Orth.
Since when?
Try saying that in school.
Ruth Orth.
Ruth Orth, and everybody's like, you got a lisp. Ruth Orth.
Did she have a list?
No, she didn't, but people thought she did.
Did Jacob have a list?
Oh, are you talking about us? If we
Yeah.
had a lisp? No. My brother did.
Yeah.
Steven.
Oh, Steven. That's who it was, yeah.
He's a ninja named little turtle. That's exactly what he sounded like. We have tapes. I got me ninja little turtle. And you're like, who's a ninja turtle? Leonardo Ninja Turtle? Leonardo Ninja Turtle. Not making fun of him, it was really cute. And he's married to a speech pathologist now,
So.
and he talks a lot.
Whoo! All right.
Hey, do you see those bricks? This guy loves painting bricks.
Yeah.
It's his favorite thing.
It's like one of my deals.
It is like under his kind of like painting name. It says the brick painter. That's what he'll be known for. What? He's the brick painter.
Bricks, man.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh no, YouTube is not receiving the video. Vincent likes carrying around bricks.
Yeah.
Bricks of what?
Bricks in his backpack for running and training.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
Now I'm confused. Who's Vincent?
He's some really healthy guy.
I know, I was picturing an old man.
His name's Fuzzy Harmonica. Why were you picturing an old man?
I don't know, I was picturing probably the wrong person in my head.
Obviously. Well, I don't know.
There's
obviously.
too many Vinces.
It's true.
Were you picturing his dad?
A little bit. I was picturing somebody along the same age as his dad. Well, who knows? Fuzzy Harmonica could be that age and he just is a swole 60-year-old.
That's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll let Vincent respond to that. Sure. He's got something locked and loaded, ready to.
He does have something locked and loaded.
He does seem pretty witty.
Are you sure he takes these bricks on runs for the extra weight, or just in case he needs to?
Oh no, we lost internet again.
Bummer.
No, it's going back up. No, it's going back down. Way down. Going back up?
Kids are probably